Welcome to ABC English Story. Today we have a story about shadows from the past and the high price of bitterness. It's a tale of how a single moment, a cruel word, can change a life forever, leading down a long, dark road. As you listen, pay attention to how characters express their deep feelings and how past events shape their present actions. Let's begin. The polished mahogany of the boardroom table reflected Ethan's impassive face. Outside the panoramic window, the city sprawled, a testament to ambition and intricate financial webs he now expertly wove. He was a long way from Harmony Creek, the small claustrophobic town that had once been his entire world, and then his prison. He was even further from the boy they called Ethan the Useless. That boy was dead, or perhaps buried so deep inside him, he no longer felt his ghost. The initial wound, the one that had festered for 2 decades, wasn't just the accident, it was the aftermath. Ethan had been 17, a golden boy with a baseball scholarship gleaming on the horizon. His father, Mr. Alastair Hayes, owner of Hayes & Son Construction, the biggest local employer, had a particular vision of success: strong, capable, a leader. Ethan was driving the company truck that rainy evening, his father beside him, when the brakes failed. They'd careened off the Old Mill Road, ending up in Miller's Ravine. Ethan had escaped with a shattered leg and a concussion. His father, a broken arm and a bruised ego. The town whispered. The scholarship vanished, but the deepest cut came from Alistair. "You were reckless, boy." His voice, usually booming with pride, had been cold, distant steel. "Costing me a fortune, a truck, my time. Useless. You managed to ruin your future and nearly mine with one stupid mistake." The truth that Alistair had ignored warnings about the truck's aging brakes to save a few dollars was buried deeper than the wreckage. Alistair needed a scapegoat to protect his reputation and his business from liability. His own son was the easiest sacrifice. The label useless clung to Ethan like the damp chill of Harmony Creek winters. His mother, a quiet woman accustomed to her husband's dominance, offered timid comfort that felt more like pity. His friends, once eager companions, drifted away, their parents subtly discouraging association with the Hayes boy who'd thrown it all away. His dream of baseball, of escape, was replaced by the dull throb of his injured leg and the burning shame his father's word had ignited. He became quiet, withdrawn, his once bright eyes clouded with a resentment that slowly hardened into resolve. Ethan wasn't inherently malicious. He was a study in quiet intensity, a keen observer. The boy who loved the satisfying crack of a bat now found a different kind of satisfaction in numbers, in patterns, in the cold logic of financial markets. After high school, where he'd been a ghost in the hallways, he left Harmony Creek with a small, begrudged loan from his mother and a searing vow: he would never be powerless again. And one day, Alistair Hayes would understand the true cost of his words. Years passed. Ethan devoured economics textbooks, worked multiple jobs, climbed the ladder in the cutthroat world of finance in a distant city. He learned the language of leverage, of acquisitions, of hostile takeovers. His pain became his fuel, his shame a whetstone for his intellect. He rarely spoke of his past, but Harmony Creek, and his father's face contorted in disdain, was a permanent fixture in the back of his mind. He became known for his precision, his almost surgical ability to dissect a company's finances and find its pressure points. Alastair Hayes, meanwhile, continued his reign in Harmony Creek. Hayes & Son Construction was the town's lifeblood. He was a pillar of the community, donating to local charities, his name on plaques. He'd aged, his hair grayer, but his arrogance remained undiminished. He rarely thought of Ethan, except perhaps with a fleeting, dismissive sigh as the son who'd failed to live up to expectations. The first subtle move came when a key supplier for Hayes & Son unexpectedly terminated their long-standing contract, citing better offers from a new, aggressive conglomerate that seemed to appear from nowhere, Apex Holdings. Then, a smaller local competitor, long struggling, suddenly received a massive infusion of capital from Apex, allowing them to underbid Hayes and Son on several lucrative municipal projects. Alistair fumed, blaming bad luck and the changing times. Ethan, from his city high-rise, watched the ripples with a cold, detached focus. He was Apex Holdings. He'd spent years meticulously researching his father's company, its dependencies, its vulnerabilities. He knew Alistair's pride was his Achilles heel. He'd overextend, take risks to maintain his image of dominance. The pressure mounted. Rumors started circulating in Harmony Creek. Hayes and Son was in trouble. Alistair, rattled, made increasingly desperate decisions, leveraging personal assets, borrowing heavily. He couldn't comprehend the orchestrated nature of his misfortune. He saw only a string of bad breaks, incompetent employees, and disloyal partners. The twist, the one Ethan hadn't entirely planned but welcomed, was the town's reaction. The same people who had once revered Alistair Hayes, who had echoed his condemnation of young Ethan, now began to whisper about Alistair's failings. His Midas touch was gone. He was making mistakes. He was becoming unreliable. The final act was a masterpiece of financial maneuvering. Apex Holdings initiated a hostile takeover bid for Hayes and Son, offering a price that was just enough to cover its crippling debts, but far below its perceived value from even a year prior. It was an offer designed to humiliate, to strip Alistair of everything but his name. Alistair fought, but his resources were depleted, his reputation tarnished. The bank, once so obliging, called in its loans. His few remaining allies in the town council, smelling blood in the water, distanced themselves. The day the sale was finalized, Ethan returned to Harmony Creek. He didn't go to the Hayes home. He went to the old Hayes and Son office. The sign was still there, but it felt different, hollow. He'd arranged for the final meeting to be there. Alistair Hayes was a broken man. The booming voice was a hoarse whisper. The arrogant posture was stooped. He looked at Ethan, truly looked at him for the first time in years, and a flicker of dawning, horrified understanding crossed his face. "You?" Alistair breathed, the word a puff of disbelief. Ethan said nothing for a long moment. He didn't need to list his grievances, to shout his pain. The silence in the room, thick with the ghosts of past cruelties and the stark reality of Alistair's ruin, was enough. "You once told me I was useless, Father," Ethan said finally, his voice calm, devoid of triumph, heavy with the weight of years. "You told me I cost you. I merely came to settle the account." He didn't wait for a reply. He turned and walked out, leaving Alistair amidst the ruins of his legacy. His mother was waiting outside, by his car. Her face was a mask of sorrow, for her husband, for her son, for the family that had shattered. She didn't speak, just looked at him with eyes that held a universe of unspoken pain and a profound, heartbreaking understanding. There was no apology from her. None was needed. Her silent grief was a far more potent acknowledgement of the tragedy than any words could be. Driving away from Harmony Creek, Ethan didn't feel the elation he'd imagined for 2 decades. There was a cold, empty space where the burning desire for revenge had lived. He had won. He had proven his father wrong. He had exacted a terrible price, but the scars on his soul remained. The boy who was called useless was gone, but the man who had destroyed his father felt a new kind of desolation. Justice, he realized, wasn't a destination, but a landscape forever altered by the journey. The reflection in his rearview mirror showed a successful man, an architect of ruin, but also someone profoundly, irrevocably alone. The silence in the car was as heavy as the unspoken words in his parents' home. And that's the end of our story. Ethan achieved his revenge, but as we saw, it came at a great personal cost, leaving him with a sense of emptiness rather than satisfaction. This story reminds us that actions have deep consequences, and that sometimes the pursuit of justice can lead to further pain. For our English learners, notice how feelings like resentment, resolve, desolation, and humiliation were used to describe the characters' inner worlds. Reflecting on these words can help you understand and express complex emotions. Thank you for joining ABC English Story.